Welcome to the latest Seahawks Draft Blog live stream. Rob Staten, Robbie Williams here on, it's New Year's Eve. So happy New Year to everybody. If you are watching in the UK, it struck midnight 20 minutes ago. So cheers. Happy New Year. Hope you all have had an enjoyable one so far. If you're in the States, enjoy tonight. And hope you all have a great 2024. And on that pleasant note, let's talk about the Seahawks losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers, because there's not going to be an awful lot of positivity to discuss during this stream. Robbie, the Seahawks were absolutely hammered today. The score might be 30-23. The Pittsburgh Steelers came into Seattle with Mason Rudolph as their quarterback. Everybody knew the run game was the only thing that the Steelers really had. Like, Mason Rudolph would have to play off the run game. If you took the run game away, this could be a good, comfortable day for the Seahawks. At no point, at any point in that game, did the Seahawks get an angle on tackling, stopping the run, putting up any resistance. It was an utter embarrassment in the trenches up front. They have given up 202 rushing yards. 202 rushing yards today. They spent the whole offseason talking about, we have to fix the run defense. We have to fix the run defense. Robbie, in the first 5 games, no one was running on the Seahawks. And they'd run like 6, 7, 8, 9 times in a game. And then Pete'd come out afterwards and go, we fixed the run defense. And it was all a big thing. In the last 10 games, they put the statistic up. They're the worst in the league at defending the run. And that's going to be even worse today because they gave up 202 yards. And one final point on this, Robbie, before I ask you for your thoughts. Often when you have 202 yards, that can be padded out by, say, a freaky play, like a QB scramble or something like that. Geno Smith had a 25-yard run. So sometimes stats can be padded by stuff like that. Do you know how many rushing yards Mason Rudolph had? 5. So the 2 running backs ran for 122 and 75 yards, respectively. That is an utter arse-kicking. It's embarrassing. They can't fix the run. They've got no idea how to fix this defense, which is terrible. It's had more investment in it than most team defenses in the league. Pete Carroll's modus operandi supposed to be a good defense. He has no answers, Robbie. He can't fix this. He's been trying to fix it for years. He's been trying to fix the defense. He can't do it. There should be a change this offseason. I don't know how anybody can argue against that with the results that we are seeing. This team is going nowhere under his leadership. I'm sorry. It's been a great run. They're going nowhere, Robbie. This isn't just losing. This is humiliation.
Well, after that, first, Happy New Year's to everybody. I am glad to be back after being gone for 2 or 3 weeks. So happy to be back, even if it's another one of these sessions where we're going to talk about how bad this team is right now. And you're right. I mean, 145 yards in the first half. 145 in the first half. I was just blown away by how bad the tackling was today. I mean, I've complained quite a bit about the tackling over the last, 2 years, but today was especially bad. And just overall, you just get really tired of seeing the same thing over and over. And we had no answers for stopping it. I mean, didn't matter if you put 9, 10 guys in the box, they were still running the ball. And yeah, I mean, what else can you say? You're right. This is the kind of game where it feels like change is coming. It has to. And you can't, I'm getting tired of the people who are saying, oh, we just got to get into the playoffs. We can go on a run. I've seen it time and time again this week. I'm like, what run? I mean, if we might win one, I guess, if we play the NFC South, maybe, or if we get lucky to play like the Eagles, who seem to be playing like garbage right now. But even then, I'm not comfortable going in and just winning one. Like, right, we just got run around, beat up today, and I feel like we play someone like the Niners, this is going to be an absolute embarrassing game. It's not something I want to see. I would rather go in the offseason with some change in mind and some opportunity to see what we can actually do next year, and not see us just get our asses handed to us again this year.
Well, at the moment, they're the 7th seed still because the Packers and the Vikings haven't played yet. And whoever wins that game, I think I'm right in saying that will push the Seahawks out of the 7th seed. And then it will come down to the final game, which, there's all sorts of connotations there. But the Seahawks are currently the 7th seed, which means they would play the Dallas Cowboys, who are the 2nd seed at the minute. or they could potentially play the Detroit Lions. Now, both of those games are very winnable, Robbie, but they will be winnable in part because nothing to do with the defense. This is the point I'm going to hammer home today. I'm sorry. Like I watched that offensive performance, Robbie. It was fine. There's not really that much to complain about with the offense. I mean, there's a couple of things. You're moving the ball quite well, and then you decide, yeah, do you know what we're going to do? We're going to watch Ken Walker spread out on a bench on the sidelines, having his injured shoulder, which you've known has been injured all week. We're going to have that tended to. And then we're going to, on the next play, Robbie, we're going to put Ken Walker in the backfield. We're going to have the backup center give him a direct snap with Geno Smith doing the old fake over snap over the head, and hope that Ken Walker's going to catch that errant snap from a backup center and run it with a bad shoulder. And lo and behold, he fumbles it. And then they come back on the next drive, and it's a forward pass, push pass or whatever to Jackson Smith in Jigba. He drops it. And luckily, it's called an incomplete pass, which it is per the rules. But that was lucky as well. Why are they getting tricky like that? There was no reason to get tricky like that. That's the only complaint I can have on the offense. The offense was okay, not great. Okay, it's the defense. It's a defense that has had so much spent on it. I am sick and tired, Robbie, of every single week having to come on these streams and reiterate yet again how much has gone into this defense. 3 second-round picks on pass rushers. A contract extension to Uchenna and Nwosu. Yeah, he's injured, but it's still been paid out. A contract to Jaron Reed. A huge contract to Draymond Jones, who's been a complete bust as a free agent signing. They then go and trade a second-round pick next year for Leonard Williams. First-round pick on Jordan Brooks. Bringing back Bobby Wagner. Top 5 pick on Devin Witherspoon. The amount of money they're paying Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams. The Jamal Adams trade. The only positive for me this week, Robbie, from a Seahawks perspective, is we never have to watch that bloody idiot play for the Seahawks ever again, because he's been put on IR. They've been basically trying to manage this to a certain point. We all knew he wasn't going to be playing. We all knew that after what happened with the texts and the storming off home, that he wasn't playing anymore. He was done. He's going to get cut in the offseason. It's a small silver lining to everything, but it's just time. Carroll and Clint Hurt cannot turn this around. They can't. It's time for somebody else to have a go. Now, for me, Robbie, what I would do is I'd just go all in on an offensive coach and say, what's the identity of this team? Because it ain't the defense. It isn't. They might want it to be, but it's not. The identity is DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Tyler Lockett, your 2 running backs you've invested in. You spent a top 10 pick on a pass protecting tackle, okay? It needs to be your explosive weapons, and your offense needs to be the identity. You build around that. And you go and get somebody who can put a complementary defense on the field. If they don't want to do that, Robbie, and they really have to go for a defensive-minded head coach, go and get what's his name? Mike McDonald? I don't know. The defensive coordinator, the Ravens. I had a look at this, Robbie. They haven't got a star pass rusher. They just brought Jadeveon Clowney for a couple of million. They have no names. They're recycling safeties and putting them at cornerback. They've got a top 5 defense. They just went and de-pantsed the Niners last week in their own backyard. They play tough, physical, hit you in the face football, Robbie. They turn the ball over. If you're going to have a defensive-minded head coach, you need to see that. Not this. Soft, weak, pathetic, don't know how to tackle, don't know how to win at the point of attack, don't get off blocks. Useless. How many more years of this rubbish do we have to put up with, Robbie? Because they finished 9-8 or 8-9 and maybe sneak into the playoffs in the back door, and everyone goes, job well done. So that we can be here in 12 months, Rob, having the exact same conversation. Explain it to me.
I mean, it feels like the exact same conversation that we had last year. I mean, isn't it? It's fairly close, blaming the offense or blaming the defense, whatever the case might be, but it all circles back to Pete Carroll and what is he going to do? And then, there's a lot of complaints about Clint Hurt and what can he do as a defensive coordinator? And I mean, listen, he can't force people to wrap up. The tackling is garbage. They're not tackling properly, but at some point it has to fall on the coaches to hey, quit trying to get the big hit and just wrap up, expect your teammate to come over and help you out as well. It's just been piss poor, watching this team play. And, I sadly, I feel like we're going to be in the same situation next year. I really do. I feel like I mean I'm having a hard time envisioning Pete going. We might have a different defensive coordinator, but is anything going to change? I don't know.
I'm just going to share this, Robert. We've got a whole bunch of super chats. I appreciate them. I'm going to get to them. Pete just backed Adams for next year. Enough. Done. Finished. Don't care if that's at this point. We don't need those words at the end, even if that's not the intention, Robbie, to deflect away from the story. No. Done. We can't keep having this defense every single year. We can't. It has been 14 seasons. It's been a decade since the Seahawks were a proper team. And when you keep investing as much as they are in a unit, or they're getting the resources that they have, and they just do the bare minimum every year to tick along for another year, with most people saying, okay, fair enough, 9 wins, 8 wins. No. This has to be better than this. There are so many coaches out there doing more with less. We all love Pete. You know, there's probably like 1% of the actual Seahawks fan base who are being ridiculous who don't love Pete Carroll. He will always be treasured. But you just get to the end. There's nothing like Pete ball. Pittsburgh played Pete ball today. We never play that way. If he's not bringing his identity and his vision to the team, what is he bringing? Bad defense? They can't tackle, Robbie. You know, it'd be really easy for me to just go, do you know what? If the cornerbacks are not playing well, maybe they need new cornerbacks, or maybe there's a few too many injuries, like DK wasn't playing, and Tyler and Ken Walker or whatever, and Gino, and you could tell, well, how could they expect to win with this? They've got most of the guys out there. Robbie, a few weeks ago, before the Eagles game, we finally had it. The media talking about moving on. We had Albert Breer speculating about Pete retiring. Mike Garofalo speculated, saying he'd heard the same thing at the Dallas game. We had Ian Rappaport asked about it on KJR. Well done to KJR, by the way, for actually having these conversations. Ian Rappaport was on. He said that he thought Pete was going to retire 3 years ago. So he hears it all the time, but it just doesn't happen. So he said he needs to see it before he can believe it, but he hears it a lot. Greg Bell was talking about whether this was the final rodeo. Is there a possibility, Robbie? I mean, I was getting a bit thinking, hang on a minute, they've won a couple of games here. They don't play very well against the Eagles and Titans, but they've won the games. Therefore, this is going to be a stay of execution. Pete's going to convince himself that they're on the right path. After a game like that, what percentage chances do you think that we might see a new head coach next year? That actually everyone will be really mature about this and go, what are we doing here?
Well, again, when there's smoke, there's fire, right? So there's probably some chatter, but ultimately I think Pete comes back. I just do. I think that the percentage is him actually leaving. I'd say 30% at this point. That'd be my guess.
I think there's a lot more chance of him retiring than people think. That doesn't mean I think it's going to happen. That's not me saying 80% he's gone. I just think the fact that people are talking about it publicly suggests that maybe the smoke is smokier than it has been in the past.
Yeah, but they also, like you said, he heard it 3 years ago.
They didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Albert Breer didn't say anything. Mike Garofalo didn't say anything. Now they're talking about it. That's the only reason why I think maybe they feel a little bit more confident this time. And look, Pete can't think. There's been serious points this year, Robbie, where I think Pete's not enjoyed himself, where he's actually looked angry and frustrated on the sideline, like he just isn't connecting with these guys. And then when he's been talking to Mike Solk on 710, he's been getting really snappy. Next question.
Next question.
You throw all of your passes to the sideline. I'm really interested why that is. So, I mean, wow. I mean, look, people are saying in the comment section here, Robbie, I really need to get to these super chats. Let me just post this. Someone has put this. OMG, did you guys hear Pete's post-game press conference? We haven't, because we've been here. So if something, I don't know if I want to know what was said, but share it. Share it. Oh no. If you want to frustrate yourself even more, Rob, you should have watched his post-game press conference.
No.
What on earth has gone off here?
Usually, Curtis will come on and start posting some things. I don't know if he's busy, but
oh no. What would be the worst thing that Pete said? Like we just need to tweak a few things, and next year will be great.
well, I don't know. He just said he's back, and Jamal Adams coming back next year. If that's what's true, so I don't know.
I hope that's the worst thing
I
he
don't know.
said, because you can't listen to you can't keep listening to the. Do you know what, Robbie? I thought it was really tired listening to the whole. I know when they beat the Eagles and he was doing, you can't win the game. I thought, oh my God. Eventually, you just think, I can't listen to this again. I can't listen to that same tired post-game routine. And I kept thinking of the players who have been there for years and have heard this for years and must just roll their eyes and go, oh God, I am so bored of hearing this. Oh my God, just that's so bad, Robbie. Like the reason why I watch football is for physicality. It's because it's such a brilliant game. There are so many great sports, Robbie, and the majority of them that had that bit of bite to them, a bit of physicality. It's been taken out for various reasons. People might not understand this in the States, but English soccer football used to be brutal. Okay, it was brutal. I could show you some things. It was really brutal. And now it's flopping. You call it flopping. We call it diving. It's faking injuries. It's all of that stuff. And it's changed. And rugby hasn't got that element to it, but they're so safety cautious now that even if players like bang heads accidentally, you could get a red card sent off. So when I watch football, I watch it because you can hit somebody in the face over and over and over and over and over again, as Marshawn famously said. We got hit in the face for 4 quarters today, in our own backyard, against an 8-7 Steelers team, Robbie, who've been crap all year.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because who's the announcer today? He's super annoying. I can't remember who he was. He was like, "Oh, I can't
Kenny
even hear
Albert.
This. Yeah, the other one.
Jonathan Vilma.
Yeah, Vilma. He was like, "Oh, I can't even hear this." Yeah, man, he was hammering the defense though. He was like, "These guys can't tackle worth anything," and all this stuff. But he was saying, he's like, "Oh, I can't even hear the Seahawks crowd anymore. We're talking about you're seeing the terrible towels out there." And I'm like, "What happened?" It used to be just a danger zone. People hated playing in Seattle, and now it feels like they like it. They feed off of it. Something's changed, man, and I think that's a good indication right there of something's got to change. Up top.
This is great. This is why I love doing the streams now. I do the streams now, Robbie, before I write my article because I lean on if people say things, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's a good point. I'll mention that." And this is a good one. I should remember this. How do you have the wrong mindset when there are only 2 games left and you control your own destiny by winning both of them? It's a great point. Like you handle your business. All you have to do is win this. All you have to do. You have to win this game at home. Take it to the next week, knowing that if you're making a 1-game event, you beat the Cardinals, you are in. It's in your destiny, Robbie. They didn't just squander that. They hammered. Like the Steelers just ran it straight down your throat. They stole your lunch money. And then they popped round to your house in the evening and stole next day's lunch money as well. Like, that's what they did. It was ridiculous. Right? We want to be the bully, says John Schneider years ago. You were bullied. It was like 10 bullies against the nerdiest nerd ever. And the nerdiest nerd ever was the Seahawks. That's how bad it was. It was painful. You cannot play like that in that type of game. Not good enough. Not good enough. Some serious questions need asking after this. They really, really do. It's time to pull up the jeans, Robbie, and people to start talking about what's going on here. That ain't good enough. I don't want to watch that next year. I'm not watching that next year. Sorry, no. You can't trot this team back out onto the field next year and go, run it back, have another go. You just can't. We need a complete mindset change. And I'll tell you something else, Robbie. It was Dan Quinn being linked a couple of weeks ago. I want no part of ex-Pete guys, Pete people, Pete friendly guys coming in to just carry on the good work. A clean sweep. Get that broom in that locker room. Whoosh. New culture, new era, new voices, new coaches, new everything. Time for a new era. Time for a new era. Somebody tell me, preferably in a super chat, why any of this is wrong. Are there anybody out there who still thinks that just muddling along is going to be okay? And I'll tell you something now. I do not know that Jody and Bert Cold are going to be as satisfied with everything that people are thinking, because the heat will soon turn to them. And if I was Jody and Bert Cold, I'd be thinking, what would Paul want us to do? And I would have that mindset. And I think I know what Paul would want right now. Okay, I've been delaying it long enough, Robbie. We need to get to these super chats. Noah says, the last 2 wins are merely papered over the cracks. Atrocious tackling, O-line play, and penalties. This Ferris wheel of mediocrity isn't getting us any closer to a Super Bowl. Pete and his staff need to go. Take me off that Ferris wheel. I have had enough. I want to go back onto the concrete and find something else to do, Robbie. And that's the thing. The last 2 wins did paper over the cracks. They were poor against the Eagles, a bad Eagles team who chucked that away, throwing stupid interceptions downfield when they were controlling the ball, and then not being able to stop a beach ball being thrown by Drew Lock, let alone a football, on that final drive. And then last week, the Titans had it completely within their grasp, and they chucked it away in the final quarter, just like the Eagles did. You have to give the Seahawks credit, Drew Lock and Geno Smith in particular, credit for getting the job done at the end. But those were not good performances, Robbie. I think Noah's right, don't you? That they just papered over the cracks and just delayed the kind of conversation that we're having now. And actually, if they'd have lost one of those games, Robbie, we could sit here today with the Seahawks out of the playoffs and we could begin the serious discussion now.
Yeah, I mean, it started the conversation. People were saying, "Oh, we could make some noise if we got in the playoffs." I mean, that's what it did. I mean, really, it was just masking the reality of what the situation is.
It really was. Really was. Let's get some more of these super chats. Damon says, you need more than one beverage, Robbie. When you're having a big chat, when you're having a serious conversation about the Seahawks, you need a couple of. You need to keep the voice nice and lubricated. Damon says, Happy New Year to you and the guys. A diehard Hawks fan since 1979. Go Hawks. Damon, with you. Happy New Year. We are both diehard Hawks fans. Robbie is displaying a diehard Hawks fans hat, and I have a very similar hat right next to me here, Robbie.
Oh, did you get that?
Yes.
Is that a little Christmas present?
It was not a Christmas present, but it is just something that I happened to see, and it was not too expensive to ship it, so it is with me. But although I am wearing the Huskies hat today, I am not a Huskies fan, any Cougs. I am merely showing a bit of moral support for the ahead of the big game tomorrow. And given that I don't follow a college football team, I don't really care who wins. But for those of you who are Huskies fans, I'm wearing this for you today, rather than matching hats with Robbie. But maybe we'll do that another time. Damon has also, look at that, it's a very generous super chat there, Damon. I really appreciate that, your second one. As a lifelong Hawks fan, I believe changes must come. The air of mediocrity is sickening, and until Jody Allen actually does what's best for the team, which is get rid of Pete and bring in a new voice and vision, we will continue to be average at best. I agree wholeheartedly. Damon, thank you again for that amazing super chat. Happy New Year again as well. That's where I think a lot of fans, increasing number of fans, let me say, maybe not a lot, but an increasing number of fans, Robbie, are at. That they are just ready for something new, and they want to see Jody act and bring in some new voices and initiate some change. I mean, when you're online, do you get a feel for how much of a groundswell of opinion is heading that way? Do you think it's a lot or not?
I'm not really sure, but like last year when it came out that she wanted to keep at least some part of ownership, like, I know she was going to sell majority team, but keep some percentage of the ownership. If she really wants that, then she needs to show that she's willing to make those kind of changes and do the hard thing, which is let Pete go. I mean, I think that's the hardest thing. And I think she's probably having a hard time envisioning doing that. But that's like, if she wants to be real about keeping part of the team, then that's the direction she's going to have to take that and can't just put it off on the next owner.
I'm just having a look on X, Twitter. Pete Carroll says the tackling was obviously bad today. Do you know what? It really killed him to just come out and gone, that tackling was not good enough today, and I've let the guys know. I mean, honestly, sometimes I think coaches just treat you like idiots. Well, obviously the tackling wasn't very good today. Here's Brady Henderson on X. A note from ESPN Stats Info that illustrates how poor Seattle's tackling was today, Robbie. The Steelers had 132 rushing yards after contact. Their second most of the game since 2009. I mean, it's not even that they're being blown off the ball at the line of scrimmage. Defenders are getting there and they're just running through. They were stiff. Did you see like the stiff arms? They made Najee Harris look like Alabama Najee Harris today, not the big soft lump that he's become in the NFL. Like he was running through an MFer's face. Like he was like Marshawn was at the game today. It was like Marshawn had sneaked out as Najee Harris. Incredible. Rodney says Pete's soft zone defense does not work anymore. Just get rid of the soft zone bit and just put Pete's defense does not work anymore, Rodney, quite frankly. But thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Loma Boy says, I've been a Hawks fan since 95. That was one of the most embarrassing displays of soft, weak, and uninspired defense with absolutely atrocious tackling. I want to clean house outside of the young guys. You have to keep coming out. Those words, Robbie, they're not words that you use, to without serious reason. To use words like soft, weak, uninspired, especially at this point in the season. It's a perfect description, isn't it? Soft, weak, and uninspired.
Yeah. I mean, and you're paying your safeties how much? Yeah, it's to clean the house, and it's time to revamp that defense. Start over. Hit the refresh button. There's a couple of young guys you keep, but I think you just gotta hit the reset button on that. And like you said, bring an offensive-minded coach who can work with the tools that we have there, and bring someone in to kind of revamp that defense, because it's just not good. It's just not good.
Pete Carroll says this was a great opportunity for the Seahawks and they blew it. Says mindset needs to be different than it was. To which I'm seeing this because Bob Stelton's quote tweeted this from 710 and he says, how do you have the wrong mindset when there are only 2 games left and you control your own destiny by winning them both? Exactly. I mean, that's absolutely, that for me, Robbie, is all I need to hear. Like this, I'm sorry, Pete, it's time to go. If the mindset is wrong for a game like this, everything's wrong. The very least you expect is the mindset of, come on, right, here we go, this is it. Pete Carroll, I'm surprised we didn't play better via Bob Condota. Oh, man, I feel like I'm irritated already and I haven't seen the whole thing. Yeah, it's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. And you just can't keep doing the same thing. He can't be given, Robbie, a chance to just go into the off-season, appoint a whole new staff of coordinators and have another go. We've been there, done that, got the T-shirt. The T-shirt costs an absolute fortune. It doesn't fit properly. Now let's go and get a T-shirt that does fit and is somebody else's T-shirt. You can't have defense. You can't do that, can we, Robbie? You can't just have coordinator changes.
No, you can't. We've seen this storyline, It's a rinse and repeat. It's not the same. It's time for an absolute. I know people are against John as well. I wouldn't mind seeing John stick around, see what he could do with let him hire a coach and actually be in charge of doing the drafting and all that. I'm ready for a change, because if not, we're literally going to be sitting here next year talking about the same thing, listening to the same stories, listening to the same jargon Pete says. It's just time. Like you said, I will always treasure Pete Carroll for what he's done in Seattle, but his time has run its course. It's time for someone to come new, someone new to come in. It's just time.
This is why I think he might retire, Robbie, because if he's saying, look, the mindset's wrong, this to me is him in a roundabout way confessing that he just doesn't know how to reach these guys, to connect with these guys. If he can't get them fired up for this game, then that's Pete kind of done, isn't it? It's like Cam with an injury that means he can't hammer people anymore. It's the receiver who runs downfield who has the hamstring injury and he's 35 and he can't run a 4.3 anymore. If he can't, because he's never been a tactical guy, has he, Robbie? There's never been a great. Have you ever thought watching a Seahawks game, wow, that tactic was amazing there. They really knew how to beat that team. That was a great piece of out-coaching from Pete Carroll. No, he always lifted his players to play to the end, to never give in and stuff like that, and play with intensity. If he can't get them to do that anymore, and he can't cling to those. I mean, they were so improbable, those two late comebacks the last couple of weeks. That's not evidence of actually things are okay. It just isn't. It just isn't. Jeremy says, please fire the entire coaching staff. We suck so bad. Been a Seahawks fan since about 83. I've never been more frustrated, says Jeremy. I think there'll be a lot of people who feel exactly that way, Jeremy, that they've never felt more frustrated, because I think that a lot of people will just feel like there's a chance that change won't come, and that frustrates people. I think the inability, Robbie, to dream is a big thing for a fan. And oh man, Robbie, I tell you, I don't know if you saw the Cleveland game the other day. I know they're only playing the Jets, but every time they scored, there was just a bit of magic there. The fans are going absolutely nuts. There weren't any Jets fans in the stands, like there were Steelers fans in the Steelers fans took over today. The Niners fans took over when I was there Thanksgiving. The Eagles fans took over when Adam was there. Like, what are we doing here? Like, there's so many like away fans in the stadium, and then there's none of that at Cleveland. Like, the fans are invested, they're pumped. It means absolutely everything to them. The players are out there, they're having fun. Joe Flacco's giving it effing come on all the time and all this. And, people are talking about him as comeback player of the year when he's played about 5 games. It's just all, there's a bit of magic going on with Cleveland, and they hit you in the face. They beat the Niners, they beat the Ravens in Baltimore, despite the fact that half the team's injured. Like, no Nick Chubb, no quarterback, no Grant Delpit. They've lost all these players, and yet they go and hit you in the mouth. And I just love the way that they play. Kevin Stefanski's had 4 quarterbacks this year. He's pulled a guy off the couch, and they've won 11 games. Is it 10 or 11 games? They've won. They're in the playoffs. I mean, that's what I want in Seattle. I want that. Oh, I want to stay up for a 1 a.m. game, adrenaline coursing through my veins, thinking, what's going to happen today, Robbie? I'm going to be like, shaking when the kickoff comes, because I'm ready for 3.5 hours of passion and torture. And all I have now when I watch the Seahawks are 3.5 hours of, is it over yet, so we can get on with the stream?
Yeah, I feel that. I'm just going to go back to the 83 comment where he was like, never been more frustrated. I'm really frustrated as a fan, but I can still remember being super frustrated the first year Jim Mora Jr. took over as head coach after Holmgren left. I think that was probably my most frustrated year. That was my second year as a season ticket holder too, and it was just awful, and I saw no future. So with that being said, though, he got fired after year 1. They brought in Pete Carroll, and a lot changed, and so great things happened. But I'm ready for that refresh, that same kind of shift at that time where, you didn't really know what was going to happen. And, all these guys were going out and, they were bringing a bunch of new players in and trying things. And it was exciting. I just want to be excited again about the team. And I feel like I'm at a place where, like, I'm just not getting excited. Nothing's getting me off the couch and being like, that was awesome. Or like, I'm really excited. It's just not.
They're just drifting along, aren't they, Robbie?
It is, exactly.
The franchise is flat. The stadium is not as fearsome as it once was. The team is not playing a fierce brand of football. They just lack any kind of fire, really. And, they're not a useless team. That's why they've won 8 games, but they are what they are, mediocre. They're 8-8 for a reason. They are bang average. They will have an opportunity to be a 9-8 winner or an 8-9 team. I've been a 9-8 team last year. It's just poor. And they could easily be worse than this. That's the thing. They could easily have dropped the last 2 games, and this could be a really long losing run. So it's time. We know it's time. And look, Robbie, how long have we been? We've been highlighting this has been coming for a long time. Kind of in the same way that we talked about the Jamal Adams trade not being any good, Jalen Carter not coming to Seattle, the pass rush wasn't any good in 2020. What was the other thing? The Russell Wilson saga. Yeah, when we were talking about that, I used to get hammered every week for discussing that because he was never going anywhere. Yeah.
I mean, I think we've actually, off air, we've definitely been talking about it for at least 4 years.
But we talk about things.
Right.
We get hammered for it.
Yeah.
Then it happens. Then we move on to the next thing. It'd be nice to talk about some things that are going to happen that are good.
Yeah.
Because then you'll know we're on the right track when we're doing that. This from It Is What It Is. I'm so pissed. I don't even know what to say. A lot of work needs to be done with this young core moving forward. Hopefully they can figure it out. I don't think this staff will figure it out. It is what it is. Hopefully somebody else will. I agree with Robbie, though. I wouldn't fire Schneider. I think John Schneider's had 2 good drafts, and I think he, given what he's done in Seattle, he deserves the chance to appoint a coach. I'm happy for him to lead that. That's the other aspect to this. When people say, well, what's Jody going to do? Like, how's Jody going to appoint someone better? It wouldn't be Jody, I don't think, or Burt Cold. I think they'd sign off on whoever John wants, and John would be leading the search. So I'd feel a lot more confident about that. I'm intrigued to see who he would appoint. D and 393, or Dan D 393. This is legit the softest team in the entire NFL, and it's not even close. Happy New Year's, guys, and look forward to all the upcoming draft coverage. Thank you. Happy New Year. And the draft coverage is not too... well, we're already into the big draft coverage, but it will get even bigger over the next few months, obviously. I mean, it may well be one of the softest teams. Whether it is the softest team, Robbie, I don't know. There's obviously rebuilding teams and really pathetic teams like the Panthers out there. But the fact that we look at this team, they are so finesse. The positives about the team are offensive passing weapons. We have a running back whose best characteristic is sort of bouncing outside when he gets into space, making people miss. There is nothing that physical about the Seahawks. They are soft. They were soft. We've talked about it ad nauseum. They are soft as. Everyone else can finish the rest of that sentence. Darth Soldier says, I guess the defense thought this game was two-handed touch. Either that or they thought they were playing badminton. I don't know. Maybe they'd be good at that. Matt B says, thanks for these chats. It's refreshing to hear constructive critiques of the team coming from honest fans. Happy New Year to you and yours. That's what we're here for. It's what we've always done. As I mentioned, we've got a fair bit of abuse over the years for it, but we will always do it. We will not sugarcoat it. It's why we push back when people suddenly felt emboldened. You know, a bit like Conor McGregor's coming back in June. They're thinking, hey, the Seahawks are coming back now. They've won a couple of games. I'm going to go on a super chat there or a live chat and hammer Rob now that they've won a game.
Yeah, here come the keyboard warriors.
Yeah, well, they've gone back to the cave, the trolls, today. Be calm, see clearly says, who can actually fire Pete, and will they? Is my question. Well, look, I don't know if there'll need to be a firing, and I don't think it ever be counts as a firing. I think what would happen, Robbie, if it was going to happen, it would be Jody would have a chat with Pete, and they would say, look, we think it's time, and I think there would be a mutual thing. They could have a golden handshake agreement. It could be portrayed as a mutual parting of ways. Pete Carroll could then decide whether he wants to be considered for one of these other jobs that are going, or whether he wants to retire or not. That would be his choice. But the Seahawks would move on. I don't think it'll ever be an announced Pete Carroll fired as the Seahawks head coach. That will not happen. And I think the Seahawks will be wary of that, Robbie, because if it went wrong next, they would get hammered. But if it's a mutual parting, that's how it would seem to go. And I think Pete Carroll's coming to the end anyway. I think he looks like someone who thinks, he's 73 next year, Robbie. I got up today and I felt tired and I'm 39. He's practically doing a 16, 17-hour-a-day job.
Yeah, to answer the question, Jody could fire him, but you're right. It'll be a mutual parting. They'll agree, they'll come to some sort of agreement. And I wouldn't be surprised if they offered him some role within the organization that's just up, higher up. But I hope he stays out of like actual football operation decision making, stays out of that. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was something that we saw.
I really don't want him to move upstairs. People keep
I do too, but I could just see them kind of like making that soft transition instead. But I agree. I don't want that, but that's something that I could see happening.
KJ Smith says, love Tyler, but JSN is wide receiver 2. Does cutting him create any cap room? Have to ask if Russ is your new bridge QB since the Broncos have paid him so much. He takes a cheap deal to return. Love the site and the show. Okay, there's a couple of things there. I can't remember offhand. I think you can potentially cut Tyler Lockett as a post-June and have some relief, but I'm going to have a look for you now, and I will tell you what
I think it was quite significant, wasn't it?
Okay, so if they cut him outright, so no post-June 1st, they would save 7.1 million, and it would cost them 20 million in dead cap. If they were to spread the dead cap hit out, that would cost them 9.8 million this year and next year in dead cap, and they could save $17 million. So you can only do 2 post-June 1st cuts. One of those is going to be Jamal Adams. If they want to do another one, they could do it with Tyler Lockett. I'm not sure if they would necessarily do that. And I wonder whether Tyler might be willing to do something to stay. Maybe. I don't know. And they love him so much. I don't know. I'd rather not lose Tyler Lockett. I think there are other ways to save money. And I would love to see, Robbie, an offensive head coach with JSN, DK, and Tyler to work with, and tight ends and running backs.
Yeah.
So that's the first part of that. The second one is Russ coming back is not happening.
No.
Because, well, the only way that will happen, Robbie, is if
Pete and John are here.
If Pete and John go.
Yep.
There were reports or a speculation that he requested of ownership that both were fired. They're not going to welcome him back after that. Now, Pete had that real bit between his teeth when they played Denver because of this. That's a bridge not going to be built. And the other thing is Mark Rodgers and John Schneider is never happening ever again. They are never working together on contracts or anything. Be surprised if they ever speak again. So you can forget that straight away. And I would suggest, even if John and Pete went, I don't think the Seahawks are going to go back in for Russell. I don't know where Russell's going to play next year, quite frankly, because he's not the kind of guy who could be a backup and do all of that stuff. He's going to want to come in and start. And I think teams will be wary about just bringing him in as the unquestioned starter, and therefore they'll be wary of him just being there as. I don't think he's the kind of person who will sit comfortably as a backup. But we will see. We will see. He's never been in this position before. Be calm, see clearly. Back in touch again. I actually want Shane Waldron to be head coach. Oh no. Let him pick his coordinators and trade up to get a QB and start new. Pete gone and Hurt gone. Robbie, I've never been inspired listening to Shane Waldron. Have you?
No, it's not my favorite idea, to be honest. No.
Every Shane Waldron interview, it sounds like I'm being given a timeshare pitch by someone who is really unmotivated in their job. Like I'm daydreaming about other things while he's speaking. And he may be the nicest person in the world. I'm not saying that he's not, but can you imagine him standing in front of a whole room of grown men who are some of the multimillionaires and getting them to go and play harder than they did today? I personally do not see that. But then Nick Sirianni seemed like a complete buffoon in his first press conference, and he got team to Super Bowl. And Jonathan Gannon, everyone was taking the piss out of him, Robbie, over the summer. Well, he's had the Arizona Cardinals playing the tail off.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's true.
Today. So sometimes that can be deceptive, I guess. Kay Soon says, a fish stinks from the head down. And this is one stinky fish that we have watched today. Primo says, in 2014, I believe Pete brought in a rugby player on how to tackle. I don't know why he doesn't do that now. Pete never takes responsibility. Yeah, there was all that hawk tackling stuff, Robbie, and I have to say, I thought that was over-exaggerated a little bit. I never quite felt that the Seahawks had got it made when it came to tackling. They might have just had a couple of good years there, and they've been pants ever since. So whatever they're doing ain't working. I mean, it certainly helps when like people like Quandre Diggs take horrendous angles and then just kind of throw themselves like the aforementioned stinking fish. Like Quandre Diggs looked like a Pike Place fish being thrown through the air.
Just being tossed around.
Can you remember that? There was that play where I think it was to Pickens or somebody, and he was wide open, and and Quandre was trying to make the tackle, but his angle was terrible. So he kind of just sort of threw himself head first, and he did look like a fish, just sort of flying through the air, completely whiffed the tackle, and then like jogging around like he often does, and not really. My God, but he'll be on Twitter soon. Telling everybody he deserves a 99 Madden rating. Right. Hal Strutton says the whole operation is Bush League amateur hour.
Yes, I love that
amateur hour. Hawks Zero says talk about Pete's challenge that wasted a timeout. Pete did the same thing against the Eagles, but the win coming up.
Yeah, that was a ridiculous challenge. I thought I was like, "What are you doing?" Like, I don't know.
I think he felt at that point that the game was virtually gone, and it was essentially his version of a Hail Mary, just a launch into the air.
I hate
hope for the
that. You
best.
need that timeout. You know you're going to need that timeout. I thought that was, yeah.
Well, Pete's never been good with,
That he's true. He's been terrible at challenges his whole career, but still.
but then he has got Tater in the box, Robbie,
That's right. Yeah.
helping him out.
Yeah.
But, it's because it's good. It's a time like this, Robbie, when a coach needs, the people who keep him accountable to step up to the plate. And I bet Nate Carroll and Tater jolly well will sit Pete down tonight and go, "Now, Pete, that tackling wasn't very good. That run, what do you intend to do about it, young man?"
Yeah.
Because Pete is a young man to Tater. He's probably one of the few people in the NFL who is older than Pete. So I think if he is older, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't talk about that because I don't know how old he is. He looks as he could be as old, if not older. But can I just have a moment, Robbie, where I just put my head in my hands?
Sure, you go for it. Take all the time you need, man. I'm trying to see some of this other stuff that Pete said. I'm wildly curious now to see what he said.
Right, I'm back in the room. Okay, another one from Luma Boy. Thank you very much, or Loma Boy. I miss Beast Mode so much, don't we all? The guy is the epitome of Seattle sports legend. I miss that attitude that he brought. All action, no BS. At least I have my sick throwback Cliff Abel jersey to remember the good times. Rest in peace to an era. Yeah, it is the end of an era. Even if they don't fire Carroll, the era's gone. The era's gone. We're just enduring it now. It's been drawn out forever. Sometimes you can get to this point in the Christmas holidays, Robbie, and you kind of think, "Oh God, I'm just ready to go back to normal now. Get the decorations down, have a bit of space in the house." And that's the Pete Carroll era has reached that stage where you just want to tidy everything up and do something different. Oh dear. And I agree. We'll always have beast mode and Cam, and there was that brief period, and it was too brief in the end, Robbie, when the Seahawks were the toughest, baddest, most physical team in the league, possibly ever.
And it was so fun. It was just so fun.
Oh, Hamlin, Vernon Davis, every time the Niners came to Seattle.
Punch them in the face, yeah.
Beast mode, like they'd be behind at half time. Oh, don't matter. They'll just give it to beast mode in the second half. 3 touchdowns later, and they've won the game. I miss those times. Time for something new. Time for someone who can do more with less, not less with more.
Yeah.
Matt B says, Hawks are basically become the Vikings, staying just relevant enough to keep fans in the stands and making money, but never a chance to be great. Feels that way. That's why the gauntlet has been thrown down to Jody and Bert and John. That's what they are. So are you comfortable being the Vikings, or do you want more? Are you willing to take a chance? Because I want more. Robbie wants more. Everyone in the chat wants more. I've not read the chat, actually. There might be a few people saying, I mean negative. But even then, a lot of people want. Well, I'm happy to risk being bad to be better than this. James says, just got home from watching the game in person, 10 rows back from the 50-yard line. No one was listening to Pete. Defense is bad. Time for change. I've got a real sense, Robbie, that the players just don't give a toss anymore. That they're not actually, that this team is not bought in. The all-in thing is that they're not.
Yeah.
Jamal's not. Jamal made it clear that he wasn't because of the tweets, the Carroll saying we've spoken to him, and then immediately afterwards in the locker room him saying, "Oh, I wish I don't regret a thing. When you go low, I go lower," and all this stuff. So that was Jamal saying, "I don't care for your authority." Yeah. DK Metcalf did it earlier in the season when he was like, penalties board. and just the players don't seem to. They just kind of think, okay. Like they haven't bought into Pete's message. I don't think this young group. I think a few of them just think. A few of them have heard it all before. A few of them, I just think that the league's changed. I don't think that, I don't think many of the Eagles players kind of listen to Nick Sirianni, Robbie. But what Nick Sirianni kind of did last year in getting to the Super Bowl was put an offense on the field, supported by his coordinators.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't really feel like the Seahawks need somebody who's going to be on the sideline and everyone's going to go, we're not worthy to the head coach. What we just need is someone who goes, right, this is who we're playing. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to score points against them. Go and execute. And then they go and do it. And then when they come in afterwards, the coach doesn't have to be the coolest guy in the world. It doesn't have to be Mr. Charisma necessarily. It could be boring as F. But, tactically, can you beat other opponents? That's what I'm after. But it's interesting to see that somebody 10 rows back from the 50-yard line said that no one was listening. And PGZ 206 says Seahawks defense is Charmin soft. Charmin soft. You could have just, you know what, Robbie? There were times in that game where you could have just put stacks of Charmin on the field, and they would have done more to prevent the Steelers' offense running through those than the running through into space than the Seahawks defenders. That's where we're at. A pyramid of toilet roll could do better than some of these defenders. I think that's it for the super chats. If you have any more, get them in. We're going to do about another 9 minutes and then we'll wrap this one up. Matt's just sent another one in. Matt, if the Seahawks had to include a current player in a trade package to move up in the draft to get a quarterback, who would you be okay with them including? Let me adjust that slightly, Robbie, and say to you, who would it be who is realistic? Because obviously no one's going to take Draymond Jones off your hands to move up 10 spots plus a few picks. It's going to have to be somebody like DJ Moore, who went to the Bears in the Panthers trade last year. Who would you be prepared to sacrifice?
That's interesting. I think if I was going to be realistic, offense or defense, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't either.
Okay. On the defensive side of the ball, I might get a lot of hate for this, but I think I would be okay maybe seeing about Rick Woolen. Yeah. And then on the offensive side of the ball, again, I'm going to get a lot of hate, and this is not a reflection of what I think of these guys at all. If it saved us money as well and we were able to move up, then maybe Tyler Lockett.
I have just had a look at the roster, and I don't think there's anybody who people would be interested in. There just isn't really any obvious candidates. So, if somebody said, well, DK Metcalf, it would cost you to trade DK Metcalf. It'd cost you $23 million for him to go and play somewhere else. So, you'd have to buy it. That you would have to turn around to the trading team and go, well, we're going to eat $23 million here. So you need to adjust the trade value. And they go, well, no deal then. We want picks. We don't want to take picks off the board and just have DK Metcalf for another year or two. So I don't think that's viable. I don't think Tyler's at a point in his career where people would covet him. Woolen, maybe after last year they would have done, but this year he's completely mailed it in. I don't think I can't think of anybody. I don't think people want Boya Mafe or people like that. I just don't think we have any, which is it's a real eye-opener, this, isn't it?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I see people saying, like, well, that's not realistic, but you're going to have to trade 2 firsts no matter what, plus a player.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying the player to move up 10 spots. It's got to be probably 2 first-round picks as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to have to be picks if you're going to do that, which is why I think it sadly is probably not going to happen. When the Seahawks were getting up towards the top 10, Robbie, I thought if they carry on losing, they might get in the top 10, and therefore you might be able to make the move. But not now. You're going to be picking mid-teens at best. So I just don't see how you get into the top 3 with the need for quarterbacks among so many teams. I think other teams in the top, like the Saints, for example, the Giants, maybe the Patriots. There are other teams who are going to be as aggressive to move up to get to the top quarterbacks. Plus the team who, it was Arizona before, they've won today, haven't they? So at the minute you've got Chicago, Washington, New England as the top 3. Why would any of those teams trade out of the quarterbacks? Right now, if you were to say what's going to happen there, I'd say Caleb Williams will go 1st overall to Chicago. Jaden Daniels will go 2nd overall to Washington, and Drake May will go 3rd overall to New England Patriots. So who are you trading up for? Because if Quinn Ewers doesn't declare, there isn't anybody worthy of that pick of trading up for. I mean, I like Spencer Rattler. You're not going to need to trade into the top 5 for him, though. So the quarterback situation is really difficult. And that's why when you don't take 1 5th overall, or you don't trade up from 5th overall, like they didn't last year for us now in the UK, 2023 for you guys still in the States, then you make it very, very difficult for yourself. And people saying trade for Justin Fields. I would not trade for Justin Fields. You've only got 1 year left on his rookie contract. And then he's a turnover machine, and you'd have to pay him very, very quickly. I can't see Justin Fields ever being the leader of a team that's going to the Super Bowl, personally. This one said, from Wit21, thank you, Wit, really generous super chat there. I said in a blog post around Williams' trade and the Ravens' loss, I thought this could be Pete's last year, and the most likely coaching hire would be Dan Quinn. If Pete is still VP, he should not return in any way in 2024. Yeah, do you know what? When I read it like that, Robbie, and from Wit's super chat there, I could easily imagine that scenario playing out. Pete stays as VP for another year. Danny comes back, as Pete sometimes calls him, and runs the Pete system with Pete meddling all the time and sticking his nose in and getting involved in the draft, Robbie.
Yep. I mean, I could see that scenario. I can. I just have a hard time seeing Pete completely just walk away. I just can't see it for some reason. I don't know.
I think there are some good coaches out there. I've been sort of back and forth on it. There's no like home run, Kyle Shanahan, go and get him, is there? But the Ravens defensive coordinator, Robbie, seen the way that they've played, and I was watching a video with Greg Cosell this week talking about how they succeed with no star defensive linemen, pass rushers. There's some of the part. Is that the phrase? Am I getting this right? The sum of the parts greater than any one individual sort of thing. They don't have like a defensive MVP candidate like a Myles Garrett or a Nick Bosa or a TJ Watt or Micah Parsons. They just play really good ball on defense. I'd be up for that. I've seen 1 or 2 people saying Bobby Slowick. I think if you intend to draft a quarterback, he would be a great shout. It's from the Shanahan tree. Done an amazing job here with the Texans, and I'd be up for that. And then if you take one of those offensive coaches, Robbie, why not go and get one of the Ravens staff and say, please do whatever you were doing in Baltimore here and give them a chance. That to me would, or go, look, if Robert Saleh gets fired, Brandon Staley has been fired, I won't be against going and getting a big name ex-head coach to be a defensive coordinator as well, who's looking to sort of rebound a bit. Offensive-minded coach, offensive-minded identity would be good for me. Just realized Rob Staten is in 2024. I'm from the future. It is 2024. The draft is just right around the corner. You guys are still in 2023. It's 2024 where I am. We've got a whole bunch of super chats that have just flown in, so I want to try and get through these before we finish. Dan says half the top 15 quarterbacks in the league were drafted outside the top 10 picks, which is fair enough, Dan. It is true. That's why I'm still looking at Spencer Rattler and thinking, he's as talented as anybody. Naturally talented. Great arm. Did ever so well in a more pro-style offense in college in South Carolina, playing within structure, getting hit every week by a crap O-line. Very NFL-like. And he will not go in the top 10, I don't think. So that's why I keep coming back to Spencer Rattler as an option. Fun Stuff says, the show is over. Ellen, take a bow. Seattle thanks you. Yep. Thank you, Pete. But can you please just go bodyboarding in Hawaii next year? It just, whatever it is that Pete does.
Yeah. That was funny.
I can imagine Pete. What's that game? Pickleball.
Pickleball. Yeah.
I remember Pete said, great pickleball player.
Yeah. Just a pickleball fiend. I could see that.
He could be like the over 70s pickleball world champion.
Yeah.
Pete, always compete, man. Go and do it.
Yeah.
Mickle Cam 10. So here's a crazy scenario, Rob and Robbie. What if Harbaugh wins the national championship with Michigan? Then John goes and recruits him and hires him. Would you both get on board with this idea? So there you go. What do you think to Jim Harbaugh, Robbie? I know what I think about Jim Harbaugh as coach of the Seahawks, but I'm intrigued to know what you think first.
I I hated him so much when he was in San Francisco. It's hard for me to really like see that. I mean, he's a good coach. I'll give him that. I don't know. I don't know if he's the right coach though.
Okay. I would be all in.
You would.
Right, for a few reasons. Okay. The first reason is it would really piss off the Niners fans if he came to Seattle and actually won a Super Bowl.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I can see that.
So that would be great. Second of all, the one thing that Harbaugh, you have to say, Robbie, is wherever he goes, he wins. Stanford. Where was he before that? San Diego State or somewhere? Stanford, Niners, Michigan. You know, he produces competitive teams. You know what you're going to get. You appoint Harbaugh, you are going to get a competitive team. His teams also punch people. He's a Harbaugh. You know, we're seeing what the other Harbaugh's doing in Baltimore. They punch other teams in the face. And I think he would give the Niners a punch in the face twice. He would. I mean, how revved up would he be for those games, Robbie?
That's true. I guess I didn't think of it. My thought process just kept going back to how much I hated him when he was with the Niners.
I know. I was right. I hated him too. But then here's the thing, Robbie, is the final reason I'd love for it to happen is it would really piss off Richard Sherman. I kind of like that. I just like the thought of that. Like, I don't know. Sorry. I know there's people out there who still might like Sherman. I find him quite annoying. So, you know, and I find Doug a bit annoying as well sometimes. So I'm all in for it. I mean, look, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he's a John Schneider type. I don't know whether the Seahawks replacing Pete Carroll with his old arch enemy is the kind of path they want to go down. But I'll tell you now, if somebody else, like the Chargers, appoint Harbaugh, they will win. I'm not saying they'll win a Super Bowl. They will win. They will be very, very competitive. And if the Seahawks appointed Harbaugh, they will be very, very competitive. Like him or loathe him, they will compete. So if you're asking me, Mickle, I'd be in for that. It's about as close as a guarantee as you would get to success. And I think it'd be hilarious. Plus, Robbie, like, you've got to admit, the press conferences would be entertaining.
Oh, yeah, they'd be a lot better. That's for sure.
He would not be. Some of those questions they asked Pete would not. Imagine Harbaugh answering those. I think it'd be hilarious, man. Blitzy the Clown says Happy New Year to the SDB community. We keep the torch lit for better Seahawks days ahead. Blitzy, big support of the channel. I hope you're having a great new year. And thank you for your continued support and for that super chat today. And thank you to everybody who sent the super chat. And if you've got any last gasp ones, get them in because we are going to wrap up any second. And I am sort of acknowledging that a load of them just came flying in at once. So if you've got a couple more, we can get into those, and then we will call it wraps. And I will go and talk to my wife for the first time in 2024 as we go through that. Mickle's just sent another one in saying, so thank you for that. Really appreciate the support. That was my idea all along. You would piss off a lot of people and bring in a winning culture. I like it. I like the way he thinks, this guy. What a twist that'd be, especially if he makes us dethrone the Bay Area suckers. You both read my mind. Thank you. This guy knows his stuff. This guy knows his stuff. Somebody just said commented saying we're undefeated in 2024.
I like that, Tommy. We're still undefeated in 2024.
Well, technically we lost the game over here in 2024. So in England, we are not undefeated. Sorry about that. But I guess that's not we're not counting that, seeing as Seattle is very much not in the UK. Okay, so we wait to see what. So the Seahawks have the tiebreaker, Robbie, over the Saints, but I think I'm right in saying they don't have the tiebreaker over Minnesota and Green Bay. So whoever wins that will move the Seahawks down to the 8th seed, and it will all come down to next week. The Rams are home and hosed. The Seahawks cannot usurp them as the 6th seed now because they won today in dramatic fashion. The Giants kind of blew that game at the end, missed a field goal. So the Packers, their final game is against the Bears. So if the Packers win today, They would need to beat the Bears at Lambeau on the final weekend of the season, and they would be in. And we could do nothing about that. And then for the Vikings, if they win, they'd have to go to Detroit and win on the last game of the season, which will not be easy. But I just wonder, with Detroit now out of the reckoning for the number 1 seed, Robbie, whether they might rest players, especially when you see things like Bradley Chubb getting an ACL injury in garbage time and a heavy defeat today for the Dolphins. I think that's going to make teams think we need to be careful with our guys now. So, how do you think? Are the Seahawks, when we, if we're talking next week, Robbie, together, are the Seahawks in the playoffs this time next week or not?
I'm going to say no.
Who do you think will make it? I think the Packers, if they win.
I was going to say the Packers if they win tonight.
They should already be there, because who did they chucked away some games.
Yeah. I just,
the Packers
we need help, but here's the thing. I don't even think that's going to be the case. I think we're going to struggle against Arizona.
Well, they played very well against the Eagles. I know the Eagles are crap now, but they played very well. The Packers have lost to the Falcons, the Raiders, the Broncos, the Vikings, the Giants, and the Bucs. This should be over.
Yeah.
This should be over. Okay. Well, I think the one final thing I have to say, Robbie, is just, once again, that was soft. We are too soft, too rubbish, and it's time for change. I don't want to watch this again next year. I want a different brand of football. I do not want to watch this. I don't want to watch Clint Hurt as a defensive coordinator. I don't want to watch Shane Waldron as defensive coordinator. I don't want to see Pete Carroll as the head coach. I've enjoyed the run, Pete. You will always be a huge part of my life and every other Seahawks fan's lives. I will always treasure that Super Bowl. I'm the one who does videos and gets hammered because I say I think we should talk more about the bloody Super Bowl we did win and not the one that we didn't win, because we seem obsessed in Seattle with the one we lost because one guy for the Patriots made an amazing play and we let the tear ourselves to shreds about that. Let's talk about the one where we hammered the best offense the NFL has ever seen and destroyed them in an utter humiliation for the Broncos. Let's talk about that more. And you were the architect of that with John Schneider, and will always be grateful. That I'm an England fan and a Seahawks fan. I don't have a lot of success with my sporting teams. So I'm grateful that you delivered one trophy for me to celebrate. And we dined out on that for a whole year until, well, the other game happened. But I will always remember you for that. But I also want to remember you fondly, not remember you as the guy who hung on and wasted years of my life and everybody else's lives when we could have been trying something different to try and get to a point that we're not going to get to under your leadership anymore. You are not going to get us to the Super Bowl. I'm afraid you aren't. And we're not here to accommodate you for as long as you want or until this team is sold. The whole point of the Seahawks is not to give Pete Carroll a job or something to do before he decides he's had enough. The point of the Seahawks should be to try and get to the Super Bowl. And Robbie, it ain't happening with this staff and with this head coach. It's time. It is time. Give me a final thought.
Okay. I'm not going to top that. That was a great rant for start 2024 off. Let's go.
Let's go. If I had any alcohol left, I'd be. And by the way, you know, there is a little bit of this English sparkling wine, which is better than champagne. Don't let you know it is. People think I'm joking. English sparkling wine is the place to be, guys. It's miles better than champagne. Cheers. It's only slightly flat. Cheers to all. Happy New Year. We did have
Happy
one.
New Year, everyone.
Dan,
everyone, thanks for joining. Everyone, yeah.
Dan, thank you for the final super chat. We've had a ton of those today. I genuinely really appreciate everybody who supports this channel and SeahawksDraftBlog.com. So again, as we enter a new year, a big thank you to you all. Robbie, a big thank you to you as well, because, you know, coming on and having to listen to me have these rants every week, it must be bloody boring sometimes, but I appreciate the fact that you join me for this. And you know, if only the team, I want us to do a year, Robbie, where we are just coming on more, you know, more often than not and being absolutely stoked excited, because they're the best. They're the best streams. You know, we have more fun when they win.
Yeah.
That, you know, we have a lot more people watching. We have a lot more super chats. You know, we want to go back to those days. We're not doing this because we want to be negative. You know, we just want the Seahawks to win, like all of you guys do. We just have maybe different opinions sometimes than you do. In fairness, we have a decent track record. So cheers to everybody. Big 2024 coming up with all of the draft coverage. So much to come. Hopefully, a bunch of interviews. Seahawksdraftblog.com for all of the analysis. I am going to be staying. I've got Tuesday off. I've lost track of the days. Yeah, I've got Tuesday off so I can stay up and watch the 2 playoff semifinals in college football. We'll be giving some thoughts on the quarterbacks and everybody else in those games as well. 2 big games with lots of impact on the NFL draft. So seahawksdraftblog.com for that. Please subscribe to the channel. Please give the video a like. Really important. A lot of you watch. A very small percentage of you actually bother to like the video. So it would really help if you could like the video. And if you would be so gracious as to leave a comment as well in the comment section, even if you just say Go Hawks, it helps with the algorithm. So we really, really appreciate that as well. So 2024, Happy New Year, everybody in Seattle and beyond around the world. Happy New Year to you, Robbie. Happy New Year to Adam if you were listening. We'll see you on the other side. And for now, see you later.